Hey YouTube, Kevin Cleary here with a first impressions video on a couple of knives from Ruike knives. Both of these are new models. This is the Ruike P831 SF, and down here we have the Ruike P128 SF. Now, these two knives are just released, and I don't think there's too much out there about them, so I wanted to share them with you and talk a little bit about Ruike knives in general. Let's go ahead and get the general features out of the way, the design, and then we'll talk about size and weight. So first up, we'll do the P128. This is a stainless steel frame lock. 14C28N blade, harpoon style blade here. Really nice looking blade design. I'm not a fan of the bead blast finish, but otherwise this is a really nice blade, and of course it's very functional. Frame lock, bearing deployment, flipper knife, really well put together. And I've got to tell you, I definitely like the styling of this one better than anything else that Ruike has done up to this point. The other thing that I've got to say is, for a stainless steel framed knife, this is fairly lightweight, okay? And I'm not saying that it's lightweight, but for the amount of material that's here, and by the, you look at this going, that thing is going to be a brick, and you pick it up and you go, actually, you know what, it's not that bad. Very comfortable in hand. Everything works exactly as it should. Let me just run through the features really quickly here. So 14C28N blade steel, harpoon style blade, nice full belly here. Almost a full flat grind, but not quite. Good and thin behind the edge. They've done a good job on the plunge grind here, so it's nice and consistent. Stainless steel frame lock with this secondary lock. Now, like always, I'm not a fan of the secondary lock, but what can you do? Well, what I do is just ignore it. Torx construction on that decorative pivot screw there, and they've nicely matched the hardware so that all the hardware has that nice satin finish on it. I do kind of wish, they've done a bead blast everywhere on this, and I do kind of wish they'd gone satin with the pocket clip and then the screws and the blade, but that's neither here nor there, and that doesn't of course really affect performance in any way. This knife does have a backspacer, which appears to be a G10 backspacer, and that's a nice change. I don't know how that affects weight compared to aluminum, but one thing I do know affects weight is the internal milling here, and I'm trying to get you a good look at this. Come on, focus. There we go. So you can see that this knife is heavily milled out internally, which does reduce the weight pretty substantially. If you compare this to a lot of, something maybe like the CRKT Buku that weighs 7 ounces or something, this is going to be quite a bit lighter. By the way, while we're talking about this, if you like this knife, at this point, I wasn't able to find these at any retailers, but you can go to RuikeKnives.ca or Ruike.ca. The link will be in the description down below. They're who provided these knives for review, and go over there if you want to pick one up. Let's move on to the other knife that I've got here to share with you. That is this guy, the little Wharncliffe style. This is the P831. Gotta say, I love the design on this. I'm kind of a sucker for Wharncliffe style blades. Deployment is very nice. Now, this is not a ball bearing pivot, it's phosphor bronze, but it's very well done. And as you can see, it does deploy nicely. Now, I will say this, I had some struggles with this guy. It's fairly small, okay? And because of that, there's not a lot of real estate for your fingers when you're trying to deploy the knife. And a couple times I got my fingers up on the pocket clip or on the lock bar, and that does make it pretty tough to flick the knife out. You can see I failed there that one time. If you keep your fingers off the lock bar, you'll have no problems. It's just one of those things you kind of have to keep in mind, okay? Again, stainless steel frame lock. Again, even though this is really slim, and I'll show you this in a second. We'll get the ruler out, but before I show you that, let me show you that internal milling. This is really slim, and they've still milled out the handles to make it even lighter. And I've got to tell you, that is really neat. The design on this is one of my favorite designs of theirs that I've seen. For my purposes as an EDC knife, I find this to be a little bit too small, but For most of you, this is going to be ideal. It's extremely slim, going to carry really, really well. Let me grab the camera and the ruler, and we'll get some measurements here. Let's move this one out of the way and deal with this guy first. So there you go, 7 3/4 inches overall. Blade length here is, well, let's see, not quite 3.5, 3 3/8 or something, although you are getting 3.5 inches, maybe not. You're getting almost 3.5 inches of cutting edge, full flat grind, Warncliffe style blade here, really, really sharp. And by sharp, I mean it looks nice. It is also sharp from factory, but that's not something I pay a huge amount of attention to because I can sharpen a knife pretty easily. 4 and just over 3/8 inches in handle length there. And this guy is pretty thin, so about 3/8 of an inch thick, maybe not even quite 3/8 of an inch. Let's grab the scale here and give you a weight before we switch back over to the larger model. Oh, try turning it on, Kevin. Okay. So 3.26 ounces on the little guy. This again is the P831. 3.26 ounces, fairly lightweight. By the way, the pocket clip here, single position, but it does function really well. And there is a lanyard hole back here that, I really don't care about. Now let's move this guy out of the way, bring this one back in, give you a size and weight on him. Obviously considerably bigger. So about 8.5 inches with a blade length of just over 3.5 inches. Okay, and the handle length, I'm going to call this one around 5 inches, and let's see, yeah, just under, like a 1/16 of an inch under 5 inches on the handle length there. Now this guy's going to be obviously considerably heavier. Let's check that out. Really? Hold on. Try this again. So 5.6 ounces, okay, for a stainless steel frame lock of this size, 5.6 ounces is pretty well unheard of. I don't think I can think of any that even approach 8 inches that are that lightweight, okay? And that's because of that very extensive internal milling. Let me grab both of these and get them back in frame here. By the way, there's no thumb stud on this side, so this is going to be a right-hand knife only. I just went to open the knife left-handed and realized that's not going to work. I don't think I can actually do it. So let's bring these two in. Both of these knives, of course, are new, and they're both really well done. The quality on these is right up there. No issue at all with quality, and frankly, I've seen no issue with the quality on any of the Ruike knives that I have tried. I've always been quite impressed with them, and these two are no exception. Go in and out of pocket nicely. Everything functions, as it should. And I've got to say that these designs are both, to me anyway, maybe you're different, but to me these designs are both more impressive than any of the other designs that Ruike has out there right now. So if you want to pick one of these up, you do need to go to Ruike Knives. I'll put a link down in the description box below. They haven't gone to any retailers that I was able to find. That may have changed. If you're watching this video a month or two after I've made it, then that may change. And by that time, there's probably a full review out on both of these knives. So go ahead and check out the full review as well. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again to Ruike Knives Canada for sending these out. And if you're interested in picking one up, go ahead and click the link below to find where you can buy one. One of the things I will say about that while we're closing is I checked the price there, and it's not unreasonable compared to the retailers. Oftentimes, a knife's website is purposely higher so that they're not competing with any of the retailers they're supplying. Right now, of course, they're not competing because no one else has these. And maybe that's why the price is a little bit lower, so that's not a bad option to pick one up. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.